Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us again for Return to Base, a Veteran Life podcast. This week is very cool. We have from Task Force Hydro 1, Ricky and Leo, the co-founders of that organization. Task Force Hydro 1, in case you're wondering, is a veteran and first responder 501c3 nonprofit based out of Jacksonville Beach, Florida. Essentially, they get veterans and first responders to come out to the waves, learn how to serve, just share a sense of community. Their mission is to come together as a community of watermen for active duty military, veteran, and first responders to actively help them cope with PTSD symptoms, depression, anxiety, and suicide by creating meaningful connections and sharing the healing powers of the oceans, rivers, and lakes via outdoor physical and recreational activities. That was a mouthful. Really, all you have to remember is these folks are out here trying to share the Stoke. Okay. It's a super cool episode here for me because Ricky is actually my big brother. He did 27 years in the United States Army, of which 20 of it was with Special Forces. He retired several years ago, went to work for an organization called GoRuck, which is great, and has moved on from there, but still, he's a part of the community. Love him to death because he is my big brother. Also, we have joining him Leo, who is a former Navy Seabee. He also was a naval recruiter. So maybe some of our listeners out there got coaxed into joining the Navy by Leo. And he is the co-founder and director of operations of Task Force Hydro 1. Very excited about this. So let's get started.
Bravo Zulu, this is Victor Lima. We are RTB. This is Return to Base, a Veteran Life podcast.
All right, here we are. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's going on, Clifford?
Clifford. Hey, how you doing?
What is this Clifford crap? Why do you got to be so formal, Ricky boy? Huh? Richard Anthony? Richard, full disclosure, and I are kind of close. We've known each other since we were, since I was a little kid. You want to
literally like since you were born?
Here to elaborate, Ricky boy?
Close to my little brother.
Little brother. Some say the better brother, but we'll go with little. That's fine. And Leo here, we have Leo here who is, introduce yourself, Leo.
Say again.
I said, give us an introduction, Leo.
Okay. Well, my full name is Leonardo, but most people call me Leo just to, keep it simple. And I was in the Navy for a little bit over 13 years. Between 2005 and 2018, I was an Navy Seabee, and right now I'm here in Jacksonville where I ended up retiring.
Nice. Jacksonville right now, I imagine, is a lot nicer than being up here in Tennessee. So congratulations on having a warmer climate. Although you guys are probably like, it's cold today. It's probably like 65 degrees and everybody's...
No, it was in the 30s.
What? I don't believe that.
It was in the 30s
Not
when we woke up
for a second. But it got to how
hot? 60.
Yeah. Well, it's actually warmer up here. Cool. Well, anyhow, so this isn't just a family reunion and a little get together. Ricky and Leo are members of Task Force Hydro 1. We'll get into what that is later, but I first want to talk about their experience, what led them to this point in their life. I kind of know Rick's life story, but I'm starting to go through it. Maybe there's something that I can learn about him. I doubt it, but Leo and we just met. So nice to meet you, Leo.
Thank you.
Yeah. So one thing I always like to talk about on this is because, one thing I like to talk about on this podcast is what led us to the point we are at right now, where we are, where we're supposed to be, I hope. And there's the story of us growing up, but what brought you into the United States military? Leo, you can go first, man.
Okay, perfect. Well, you see, I was born and raised in Peru, and I came to the States when I was almost 18 years old. And what brought me here to the States? I used to play soccer, and then my mother, who passed away in 2005, she was able to bring me here. For a while, I was doing construction work, air conditioning, and I did it for about 6 years. And then somehow, sometime around 2004, it's when I started talking to recruiters. I went to the Army recruiter, I went to the Air Force recruiter, and then I went to the Marine recruiter. I never went to the Navy recruiter, and it was because I thought that I was too dumb to do Navy stuff. So I spoke to the Marines first, and what drove me away from them, I actually used to go to their PT and the delay entry program. I used to be involved with that. But then what just pushed me away was just a recruiter. Marines, how they are. They're very they're cocky, guys. Which at the time,
aren't they part of the Navy?
They are. They are. So for me, it was just I was just trying to figure out what to do. There was no specific reason why I joined the military. Back then, I was a legal resident, so I was not a U.S. citizen. So I had a lot of limitations on picking out what I wanted to do in the military because of that. So I also talked to the Army and then the Air Force. But then at some point, my ex-wife, she was in the Air Force. And we ended up moving to Colorado Springs. So I was a dependent, right? But only for 6 months.
Were you a dependent?
Yeah.
Did you say you were a dependent? Shout out to all the dependents out there. Nothing but respect and love.
Yes, nothing wrong with that. But, as a guy, for me, it was just difficult. And so one day I went to the
Wait, hold on. You didn't work at Sharky's, did you?
No.
Okay.
Inside joke, Green Beret stuff.
Fayetteville stuff. Sorry about that.
But anyway, so I was walking around the shopping plaza. My ex-wife, she was getting her nails done, and then I was talking to this guy outside, this office, and he was smoking. He had I still remember, his last name, Smith. He was a boatsmith. Boatsmaits are the guys that take care of the ship. Mm-hmm. And they do a lot of cleaning and painting,
Yeah, a lot of painting.
Yes. So anyway, so I talked to this guy, and he was telling me about all the places that he's been and the things that he's done and so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden, he just popped the question. He says, "Hey, would you like to join the Navy?" And I said, "Sure, let's do it." Just like that,
That's it. He was like, "Oh like man, nice."
I didn't think about it twice. The military was something that it was on my mind before a few years before. But I don't know if it is that I was scared to live in a comfortable way. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to give it a try. I wanted to see the world, to experience something new. It wasn't because I wanted education or money or anything. It was just, I just wanted a new experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. And there's a lot of respect in that, obviously. As a matter of fact, your story sounds remarkably similar to a story that our grandfather used to tell us that he saw a sign when he was growing up in Guam that said, "Join the Navy, see the world." And so that's what he did. He joined the Navy, and the rest was history. Excuse me. Hey, I want to go back to something real quick. So you mentioned when you joined the military, you were a non-citizen, right?
Right. So I was a legal resident, which is, I still don't know what they call it, a green card, because I never seen a green card.
Green means go, man. Green means go.
So the first of all, whenever you become a legal resident, you get a brown card. Okay, not green.
You sure aren't colorblind?
Right.
Hey man, where's your green card? No, dude, I don't have a green card, man. It's brown. Get the fuck out of here.
So I had this, to be able to come into the service, you have to have that your resident card, which at the time I had it. So that's how I got in. But I joined the Navy to see the world, but I ended up seeing a lot of sand.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I love me some Seabees, man. Everybody worth their salt knows to make friends with the Seabees if they're deployed near you, because they will hook you up quickly too. But let me ask you, and I don't know, but did you have when you came to America, did you have a sense of, hey, I want to serve? Because this is a unique country where we're, I believe, the only country in the world where when you show up and you basically can say, guess what? I'm American now, and we always identify, not always and not everybody, but a lot of us identify ourselves as this race or this race or this race or this race, whereas, at a point in time, we all just kind of identified as Americans. That's probably not true. In a vacuum, that's true. But uniquely around the world, we're the only country where citizens are like, I'm American. You know what I mean? Like if a dude from, I don't know, pick your country. If a dude from Kuwait goes and lives in Great Britain for 20 years, you ain't gonna hear him saying, I'm British. You know what I mean? Whereas pretty quickly they come to America and they're like, I'm American. Or at least I hope they still do. So did you feel that? Did you feel that American identity before you joined the military? This is where he goes, no, that's all bullshit, man. I didn't feel any of that.
I wouldn't say no. So, my first encounter with someone in the military was through a recruiting office. And so, and to me, just looking at the uniform, like you look at different branches and just looking at the uniform for me was like, wow, like those guys look sharp, but if I when I was saying, I'm like, we're not really that sharp, but I've been in the middle, right? Because I was, I was born and raised in Peru, and then came here to the States, and after a few years, then I went back. But then at the same time, it's people notice when you're not, or like in Peru, they notice when you don't live there. So then I always found myself being in the middle where, okay, I was born in Peru, but at the same time, I have spent most of my life here in the U.S. So I have a lot of respect for this country, especially for, just that I was born and raised in Peru, and I can tell you the things that I have accomplished in this country, I would have never be able to do it over there.
When you came here and then you went home, right, back to Peru, did you feel like, man, I missed my old home, my other home? Yeah,
I do. The times, even now, like when I go visit family, my dad lives there, and when I go see him, on day number 3, I'm like, I'm ready to go home. This isn't.
That's awesome.
This doesn't, being in Peru, I like it. I like everything there, but after a few days, I feel like I don't belong here anymore.
This is America. Yeah, America.
It's kind of a strange phenomenon that you just made me think of is I've lived in Germany. Rick's lived in Germany. He's lived in Japan. And obviously you're from Peru. But when you spend a lot of time overseas, not necessarily like Iraq and all those things, but you start missing some of the things that we kind of despise here, right? You're like, God, I hate Walmart. I hate people of Walmart. And then when you're overseas for a bit, you're like, dude, it's midnight. And you mean I can't go get me some like chips or like chips, a clock radio, and like some painting supplies? This is bullshit. What do you mean nothing's open on Sundays?
I can't go people watch.
Yeah. It's kind of wild, man. But
for me, the biggest thing is when I've been to Peru during summertime, like most places, like a regular home is not going to have air conditioning. So you only find, an air conditioner system in a restaurant or the malls here and there, business, big business. But as far as in a house, you won't find it. So, and that's why I don't go to Peru in the summer now, because it gets hot. And there's so much you can do. You're just laying in bed and sweating, and you're like, man, I need to go back to the U.S.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, man. Did you ever consider joining the Peruvian Army? I've been told that their armies kind of look very World War II German-esque.
Well, my dad was in the Navy in Peru.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was about to graduate high school, it was either, I was not, I'm still not the brightest cook in the yard. All right. So a lot of the guys that I graduated with, it took them 2 or 3 years to make it into the university. Because over there it's a little bit different. It's like you take a test, and then let's say this particular school has 500 seats and you got 1,500 applicants. Highest scores are the ones that they're going to give the seats to the 500 applicants. Now you got some dudes that they're just smart people, and very good grades and all that, and then it takes a while to make it unless you go to a private one. But the way to getting is pretty much the same. But as far as me, it crossed my mind. My dad brought it up. He just said, "Hey, would you like to be in the military, the Navy?" And for me, it was, well, the uniform is nice, but the pay sucks.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was like, man, it's all about in Peru in the military, and this I'm talking about 1998. Now it has changed, but back then it was just all about the uniform. There was nothing else. And I used to see the military guys or the cops struggling, doing side things on the side to make up so they can provide to their families. So for me, I was like, no, I can, I'm not gonna be able to make it in that way. So I was looking for, just besides being in the military, just, to also make a living to later on, because I was always worried about what's going to happen next. What's going to happen after I get out of the military? What am I going to do? How am I going to make it?
Yeah, that's something that I think most people who join the military and serve for any time start to think of, especially once they have a family. Ricky boy, how about you, man? Tell us about what led to the judge telling you either you go to jail or you join the military.
Pretty close to that. Pretty close to that.
Juvenile delinquent fuck.
Well, let's just start off like I'm the oldest of us three, We got a younger sister in the middle. She's about a year and a half. She's basically me with tits.
Whoa.
Or boobs. All right. That's what she says. All right. That's all she says.
She never says that to me. Thank God.
Yeah. But bottom line is Cliff and I lived a pretty rough life. We didn't and I probably would get screamed at for this, but all honesty, our parents were dope heads, and I took it after them a little bit. I followed their path, and I was in a lot of trouble in elementary school, and I was always a smart kid. I had grandparents and uncles, and even my dad were in the military. And I always looked up to them, and people who were in the military. I love my country from the day that I started speaking. Just listening to my grandfather talk about World War II, Vietnam, Korea, and then my uncle talking about Vietnam and stuff. I used to sit and just read Vietnam books about the Vietnam War when I was a kid. I never went to high school. I went to seventh grade twice. Never went to high school because I had to take care of myself. And, I got involved in gangs and a bunch of other nefarious activities. And I had some Mexican gangs coming to find me for something I had done. And I left around 17 years. And I moved to Florida, and I got a job on a longline fishing boat. And then also in a diner. I met this girl who's in the National Guard, and then I got interested in it, and I was like, well, I never went to a day in high school. So I went and got my GED. Right. And I joined the Army. Me and that girl split. I ended up with my current wife now that we've been married, for almost 30 years. And I joined the Guard first because I didn't have a high school diploma. Right. And then from basic training, I went back to San Diego, got a job in the shipyards. And I went to night school to get my diploma. And then one day the recruiter called me up and was like, hey, we're taking GEDs. Right. So I stopped and I joined the Army. And in 1994, I went active duty at 101st Airborne.
Yeah, I remember coming to visit you when you were at Fort Campbell. And let's just say he didn't live in the best conditions. I mean, it was a nice trailer. It might have been like third nicest on the block.
I was a private, 2 kids.
That's right.
Living in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, on Tobacco Road, right there, and I think it's Hopkinsville.
No, in Oak Grove.
It was actually Oak Grove.
Yeah, you lived right on the border of Tennessee and Kentucky, and you wouldn't recognize it now. Believe me, I live outside of there, and we had a big carpet in the middle of the living room, and not more than one person could stand on the carpet because you'd fall through into the floor outside. Yeah. Those were good times.
That's a good time with government cheese.
Right? We gotta go get them free diapers and formula. I've said before on this podcast, and I'll say it again, is you really do remember those times that sucked. Yeah. Even in your personal life, at least you had love, right?
Yeah, that was it. Always. Even there in the short time that I was there, I had, my wife's family came and visited, my sister and my brother came and visited, so even when you're down and out, you have no money, that was one thing about me, is even though I didn't get along with my dad and all that stuff, but I still had this sibling relationship with my siblings and all my cousins and stuff that, kept me grounded,
Yeah, so Ricky Boy there ended up eventually becoming a Green Beret and eventually became a warrant officer, where guys like me had to salute him and go, man, you didn't even finish high school? What the
Yeah.
It's back when they were desperate for warrant officers. No, I'm just playing. Also, I should also mention at one point, Rick was awarded the General MacArthur Award for Leadership for junior officers. So we are very proud of him. And I'm going to get off my soapbox on there, man. But Leo, how'd you find being in the Seabees? We mentioned them earlier about how awesome it was if you gave the Seabees some beer, even though that wasn't allowed, that they would build you anything.
Well, honestly, when I signed that paperwork, I didn't know what the Seabees were.
I hear that horror story about a lot of people joining the Navy. You can be an engineer.
I'm going to be a firefighter. They're like, bro, everybody's a firefighter.
Yeah. All I told the guy, as I'm signing the paperwork, I said, look, everybody, I know the Navy has ships, but does everyone goes on the ship? And he said, no. Well, the Seabees don't. And then he said, well, I asked him, so what do you got? What do they do? Oh, they do construction, heavy equipment. They deploy to different countries, and they do humanitarian work, like community service. And then I thought, oh wow, that sounds pretty cool. And then this person showed me pictures of Seabees in Puerto Rico, Guam, Spain, and I'm thinking, oh, this is gonna be the life. Well, that wasn't the case.
Hey, I thought you said you saw a bunch of sand, man. That means beaches, right?
Because no, it wasn't because it wasn't beach over in Spain or like in Palma de Mallorca. No, it wasn't because of that. It was because I got to Naval Mobile Construction 7, the Construction Battalion 7, out of Gulfport, Mississippi. And I got there about 10 days before Katrina happened. So Katrina happened, and then we were helping out in the community. But then we were gonna be deployable 3 months later. And my first deployment was we landed in Kuwait and then convoy out to Iraq, and that was in 2006. And that's when I got to really understand what Seabees do, and it was none of that stuff that I saw in that picture at maps.
No. Where did you end up in Iraq, or did you guys like bounce around?
I bounced around a lot. Ramadi was one of the places that I was. Then there was this resort over in Basra. It was
Al-Qut?
No, it was in Basra. I remember it was nice, a beautiful little resort with a man-made like an island, But and then I returned back. That was 6-month deployment, and I returned to get divorced from my ex-wife. I came back to divorce.
Yikes, man! Was it? I mean, I don't want to get too personal, especially. Do you got a current wife?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we'll move on.
His current wife is amazing, by the way.
Okay, good. Well, cool. She doesn't mind you telling this story.
Oh no, she doesn't.
Man, you didn't exist until I met you, man.
No, she knows.
Yeah. So what was that like? I mean, was it the military that in that deployment that ripped that relationship apart?
I think it was. I was selfish. I was a very selfish guy. I was not ready for marriage. I got married when I was 21, and I came into service at 24. So I was a dick, man.
Yeah,
it was just like that, and then when I came back, I had a. Now I understand when people used to tell me that I had a drinking problem. Back then, I didn't see it that way. So, but my ex-wife and I, we just grew apart with time. And it only took being away from 6 months, 7 months to actually understand what we had going on, and we just she decided to get divorced. And for me, it was shocking first because I was raised Catholic, and even though I don't practice, for me, it was always in my mind, you only marry once, and that's it. Even though now I think something completely different, but back then that was my
like
idea.
6 marriages later, did you like, that's fine?
I don't know what they're talking about.
What?
It don't hurt.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like, deployment will test you.
Because of what happened is what led me to who my wife is now.
Yeah,
which,
amen.
If you ever ask me, will you do it all over again? I say yes, because I am where I am I am with her because of what happened.
Yeah, for sure. And did you end up going on further deployments while you were in the Sea Beast? 13 years. I imagine you were gone quite a bit.
So I, in total, on those 13 years, I did 7 deployments. Not all of them to Middle East. I actually got to see some of the Navy deployments. Or they call it deployments. I always tell the guys on the boat, I say, look, man, this is not a deployment. This is a cruise.
It's a cruise where you got to work, man. It's like you're one of the helpers on the ship.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Where's all the passengers and the entertainment?
So I went to Iraq. I went to Afghanistan. The last time I was in Afghanistan was in 2009. And I got a funny story about that one.
Let's hear it. We love funny stories.
We deployed to Iraq, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was during that transition when the president came on TV saying that we're pulling troops and this and that. And well, we got the word that we had to punch out of Iraq. And I'm thinking, well, we're probably going to go to Spain, take all our equipment there, hang out, and just kill the remaining, 3 months that we have. So then my chief comes and he's like, hey, Huey, you got to pack all your stuff, get all the equipment ready. I said, okay, yeah, they're going to pick you up tomorrow. You're going to be the first, you're going with the advanced party. You're going for you guys, you guys going in first. So we're going to
Spain?
Honestly, I even went online, looking around things to do in Spain, what was close to the base. I had this whole idea. I had this whole idea of what I was going to do in Spain now. And then he says, no, we're going to Afghanistan. We're like, fuck.
Hey, join the Navy and see the world, man.
Right? Yes, I did. I probably still have sand in my, some of the bags that I have there.
I thought you were going to say your ass crack.
I
did too. But when we got there, the Marines were there, and that was it. The Royal Marines and the British and different countries were there.
Were you in Helmand?
Yes, I was in.
That's a great place to go when change your mission. Hey, by the way, you're going to Helmand, probably.
Right.
We made it out of Iraq alive, Mom.
Yeah.
It was. We got there. All I remember that it was very cold. You can either sleep on your pop-up tent outside the NRAP, or you sleep inside. Well, it so happens that I had one of the vehicles to me, so you just end up crashing there. every now and then until eventually we were sharing this huge tent with the Afghani nationals. They're I think it was the National Guard. I don't know what they were, but we ended up sharing that the big tent there until eventually we end up building that CB base. I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember the name right now. But anyway,
here's what I find funny about the CVs, Leo, is you guys always build these Taj Mahals for everybody else, but every time I've seen a CB in Afghanistan or Iraq, you guys are living in rough conditions because you guys built something up nice, and you're like, "See ya, off to the next one." Every time.
No, you know why? Imagine if you're like a team guy or an infantryman, right? And you're like, who are these new guys? Oh, those are the CBs. Oh, dude, why is their place so nice? You know what? It figures.
Yeah.
So they gotta like fake the funk, man. But if you go inside the tent though, it's real nice, decked out, marble. Yeah. Looks like Saddam's palace.
You got Poncho separating A&A and myself.
Yeah.
When I was seeing, I didn't really get to enjoy the fog much. I was constantly out and about. Because I was so in cities, you got different people that do different things. Like the guys that you constantly see building stuff, those are the builders and the electricians. So I was in Alpha Company, and that's when where the equipment operators and the mechanics are. And I was one of the equipment operators. So we're constantly, if we're not operating equipment, then we're driving.
You're building berms, aren't you?
Right. Yep.
Pushing dirt.
Pushing
dirt. Yeah.
I hated to fill up Pescos.
You just come back with like sand in your boogers for like 3 weeks, right? Yeah, I can see that.
But it was overall, it was a really, through it all, it taught me a lot of. It gave me like a bunch of life lessons.
Yeah,
that's what it did.
And that's kind of what the military does, man. And I mean, it's not like, look, let's be honest, right? If you're a guy who goes to trade school, becomes a plumber, you're going to be taught life lessons too, right? But it's just different. There's the camaraderie. There is a sense of danger. And I mean, I tell some of the people I've worked with before, I'm like, I can't imagine you being 25 or 28 years old or whatever you are, going without anything, and being okay with it. Where there's like, in the military, thankfully we had all those care packages and all that stuff that Girl Scouts and stuff would send, but a lot of times you just went without, no deodorant this week because the PX didn't have it. No, whatever it was, but
no cot to sleep on.
No cot to sleep on. You're like, the first night I was in Kuwait in 2000 and I don't know what year it was. Anyways, I took an Ambien on an airplane. And when we arrived in Kuwait, I think I was still riding that Ambien wave. And so I went and laid down on my cot and I had like a bag full of sunflower seeds and I put them like next to me. In this part of Kuwait, it's like a transient center. And it was like all these like really, really small plywood jack shacks. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? And I put my sunflower seeds next to me on the nightstand. And when I woke up in the morning, every single sunflower seed had been split and the seed taken out and they were scattered all over me, all over the floor. So during the night, like a party of rats ate my sunflower seeds on top of me in Kuwait. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, to this day, I just can't. I see a rat and I'm like, no, thank you. When was your last deployment, Leo?
My last deployment
Or
with the
cruise.
series, right? Oh no, so my yeah, because after the CB, so after the CBs, I went to recruiting for 3 years in Miami,
Oh man.
which a lot of people hate recruiting. You know, this is the thing, right? A lot
Yeah.
of people hate recruiting. However, I would tell them, you know, because the biggest thing, oh, do you go on ships? I say, look, I have never been in a ship, which is true. You know, back then, I never experienced ship life. I said, look, if you ask me anything about the blue side of the Navy, I'm going to tell you, read it online. But as far as if you ask me something else away from the ships, yes, I can give you the information for that, or just give you my own personal life experience with it.
Mm.
And after recruiting in Miami, I came here to Jacksonville, and I ended up cross rating, so changing MOSs.
Oh, okay.
That's what it is. So, and guess what? I cross rated to an admin MOS.
Nice. I thought you were going to say something crazy, man. Like
No, and I was
like pilot, F-16 pilot.
no it was either I changed an MOS or I just get out.
Yeah.
You know, so back then I was an E5, and so in the Navy when you go from E3 to E4, so on and so forth, you got to take a test.
Yeah.
And now you can take that test, you can pass the test, but not get selected.
Mm.
So, and for me to move on to first class, I was running into that problem where I was not getting selected, and it wasn't because somebody else got selected. It was because there were simply 0 seats on that specific job that I was doing.
Yeah.
So there was no option for me. You either and a lot of guys that I was in the battalion with, they run into the same issues, and most of them, like in civic communities, you know, a bunch of guys, we have a lot of pride. And when some of the guys that left was because of that pride. They say, I'm either a CV or I'm not going to do anything else, you know. So for me, I just had to, you know, wife, kids, I had to do what was best for my family.
Yeah.
So and that's how I ended up on a boat, on a ship.
As an admin on a ship.
Yep. But you know what? My customer service was not the best. A lot of people. I had a lot of guys complaining about me because of the way that I would talk to them, you know. But to me, it was very new. I actually got to learn what the Navy was about on the blue side, and I deployed. I went to with the boat. I went to Spain, Scotland, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Montenegro. I've been to so many countries, you know, in such a period. I mean, such a small time. But my last one with them was coming from a Mediterranean deployment.
Yeah. Rick, let's shift a little bit here, Rick. And you know, it's funny. I know how your career went basically, but give us kind of a once over of how you feel your career went.
Well, you know, it's like once I joined the military, it was like I was all in. Everything I tried to do, you know, I just tried to be the best at, you know. It was funny. I left being a gang member and all that stuff to coming in the military and actually excelling and being able to follow orders, you know, something I didn't like to do when I was a kid. Yeah, I ended up, you know, when I got to 101st Airborne, a week later, I got orders to Korea, to where I was leaving the 101st Airborne a year from the day I got there. Right. So, my wife didn't come out for 6 months. So the last time when she was in Kentucky, she was only there for 6 months.
I never realized that.
Yeah. I think actually shorter. And then I went to Korea, and That's probably my worst year in the Army. I had made, so remember back in the old days, you could get promoted from private to E4 in like a year with just these waivers,
Yeah.
So my boss was just like, waiver, and I left, I left with like 4 or 5 Army achievement medals and all that stuff just from like, oh, give him an award. So we got to Korea up in 2nd Infantry Division, my worst year in the Army. It's like, I was in charge of a bunch of knuckleheads that didn't really want to listen to me, and I had a squad leader who, a platoon sergeant who was into Christianity and karate, and he really wanted me to be a part of his karate class. And I was like, there ain't no way in hell I'm gonna do your karate class, right? Especially when you're preaching the Bible to me at the same time. So he made my life miserable. I went to re-enlist, and I said, how do I had heard this horror story about once you went to Korea from 101st, it was this vicious cycle where you would go back to 101st for like 18 months to 3 years and come right back to Korea. And that was your thing. So I was like, I'm going to break the cycle. So I said, what do I got to do? He's like, well, you can go to Germany. I was like, sign me up. So I went to Germany. I was a commo chief, for a military police company. And as soon as I got there, I brought my wife, because I'd basically been away from my wife for like 2 years, and hey, welcome to Germany, babe. I'm going to Bosnia for a year. So went to Bosnia for a year. And while I was there, I seen these, I was living on these camps. Back then, when you're in the regular Army, you lose a bullet or a round, just from it falling out of your magazine, from you doing whatever you're doing during your whole deployment. It's Article 15. You got to tear the whole truck and the whole base apart, and they shut down everything. It's like losing a pair of night vision goggles.
Everybody was so bored.
Yeah. And then all these dumb rules on base, right? Walk with your helmet, all this stuff, do this, and your body armor everywhere you go. And then I see these guys driving through the front gate in these pickup trucks, like this long hair, baseball caps, and just like doing whatever they want. And I'm like, who are those guys? Right. They're like, oh, those are the SF guys. Right. They live out in town in a house. Right. I'm like, what? And from then on, I was like, I'm doing that. So we got back to Germany, and I went straight to the Special Forces recruiter. I was like, I want to go. And he's like, you're going to take this PT test. And, I went to got selected right away, went to Q course, and ended up in Special Forces in 2000. And it was basically sort of like a peacetime Special Forces, nothing going on. We still had all of our manuals in 3 foot lockers, right? We had one green computer and one red computer, and we still were using floppy disk, right? And my holster for my 9mm was a green OD green canvas holster, right? And all of a sudden, one day I'm driving to work, and Howard Stern's talking about how it almost seemed like it was a skit, like how he just watched a plane fly into the Twin Towers, right? And my dumbass didn't realize I had that Monday off. It was a Monday, I believe, right? And I came in, and there was other teams that had to work, and they're like, "You hear what just happened?" I'm like, no. They're like, 9/11, Twin Towers just went down, and I get stuck on the first group compound for like 3 days because they locked the compound down. My whole team was at home going, "You dumbass," So that was the beginning of my trips to the Philippines, to Iraq, to Afghanistan, back to Iraq, Afghanistan, and the Philippines.
Yeah, that day changed everything for pretty much everybody, especially if you were in the military, for sure. But even afterwards, man, generations afterwards is one of those things, and it's a big deal for our generation. It is our Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
How about you, Leo? Were you in the States when 9/11 happened?
Yes, I was. I remember that day exactly. So I used to work for this air conditioning company, and I was at the office waiting for another technician. And then the dispatcher, he's on his computer and he's talking, and I'm not really paying attention to it. So then he flips the screen and he's like, look, and I see the plane flying into the building. And then I thought to myself, well, and I told the guy, I said, oh, what is this, a movie? He said, no, this is life. This is real.
Mm.
And then to me, it was incredible. I mean, it was just, I understand why certain laws and the way we do things now have changed. And it's because of that. So that doesn't happen again. I mean, that is the hope. But I just, I mean, I was, so growing up as a kid in Peru, we dealt with terrorism in the 80s, and it brought some memories back. That incident, what happened, and as the days went, after 9/11, being here in the U.S., it was different. It was a whole different atmosphere, a sense of like sadness. It was something different, and it brought me back to when I was a kid. And because when I was a kid and during terrorism, car bombs was the thing. As a kid, I couldn't go outside just to play because probably something is going to explode.
No.
Or if before I had to leave the school, and I was in elementary school, before I had to leave, the army would have to come and clear the area for bombs and whatnot, just to make sure that we don't get hit. And that was the day to day. It was just bombings, and
you just never expected it in America, huh?
That, and honestly, that I never expected it. Something that was going to happen here. Never. Because I mean, like from my point of view, being someone that I was born in a different country, for me, looking at the U.S., it was, I mean, this is the most powerful country there is.
Yeah. If they can get us, who can't they, right?
Mm-hmm. And that moment when that incident happened, it was, I guess we're not so safe after all.
Yeah. So Leo, you did 13 years in the military. Why?
Yeah.
Why'd you get out?
I didn't get out. I was struggling for many years, right? And that was my biggest secret.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say that I finally came out of the closet, because that wouldn't sound right. But to me, it was.
Hey man, you just said it. It's fine,
right?
It's gonna be transcribted and everything.
If I say something like that, oh well, he's a Navy guy, blah blah blah, bullshit. So I was struggling for many years. A lot of anger issues, and drinking. I never thought I had a problem, but at some point I did. And just a lot of anger and confusion, and just not understanding what was going on. What was for me, in a way to cope for many years, was work. I was a slave. Like, I would go in to work and spend many hours just to not think about something else, or just not to be at home doing nothing. So eventually, the psychologist, she brought it up to me and said, "Look, I'm gonna submit the paperwork to medically retire you." And at the time, I was, after the fact, I was hospitalized for three different times. My longest stay was 45 days, and I was just out of control. That's what happened. I was out of control, and when finally everything came out, when I had a suicide attempt, I I figured, you know what, that it's time for me to just move on. This is it. You know, I was getting nowhere. I was about my wife. My wife was she was very strong and she was there for me. But when they so whenever you go through the medical retirement process, when you go through for a med board to see whether you're fit for duty or not, whenever the paperwork comes back, you got a 10-day period to decide whether you want to appeal that or not. So I took the whole 10 days to think about what I was going to do, whether it was if I was going to fight this to stay in and do 7 more years to finish, or is it better for me to say, I'm done with this, I got to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of factors that I had to put in place, and it was mainly my family. I had to put them as a priority, because before I didn't. You know, I neglected my kids, my wife, and at the time I was just not. I didn't see it. None of that. All my struggles, all the issues that I was causing in my house to my wife, my kids were, scared of me. You know, so but none of that I didn't see it until finally came the day when I just completely broke down and said, I'm done.
Yeah. And so you accepted medical retirement, or you didn't appeal it?
I didn't appeal it. I took it. And, but at the beginning, transitioning that part, it was difficult. It was weird for me not to wear a uniform. I remember looking at my calendar and counting the days and seeing, oh, what day do I have duty? Or right. The little things here and there, or like looking for my cover, for my, what do you guys call it? Cover your hat?
PC, beret.
Okay. Yeah. Just looking for cover. My cover, or looking at my planner. And because I used to plan 30, 60, 90 days out and see what's coming, what's going on with certain people here and there, so on and so forth. So, but it's transitioning. It was challenging, but I knew that it had to be done. For a while after I was out, I didn't want to go inside the base or talk to any veterans, any activity, nothing. I simply just wanted to be left alone and just pretend like nothing ever happened.
Yeah. And I think eventually that leads you kind of to this conversation. We'll get to that, obviously, because that's a really important piece of this. So Rick, tell us about, Rick retired after 27 years. And, basically after that long, he was pretty much useless. No, I'm just kidding. He still had a ton of utility. And if you can't tell, I love my brother. But Rick's transition, I want to speak for you. Let's talk about your transition, man. And the triumphs first, the struggles, and then we'll lead into where we are today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's not get too heavy, but let's get real heavy, Rick. Let's peel off the covers.
No, so I retired, for one, I spent the last 3 years of my SF career not in the regiment. I'd gone to a joint billet in Hawaii, Joint Interagency Task Force West. I was me and a couple other Green Berets and a former Green Berets running the counter narcotics training division, right, for JIF West. So I would bring in SEALs and SF guys into Cambodia, Philippines, all that, and run narcotics training. But it was sort of weird. The last 3 years, I was working with soft guys, but I wasn't really in when I went to work, I was around a bunch of Navy, Coast Guard guys and all that stuff. And I wasn't really in the regiment. So I got out just because I was going to do 30 years, but just after Afghanistan, losing my medic in 2012 and a bunch of other combat deployments and some injuries that from some traumatic brain injuries, and just had some focus issues, and I had some serious anger issues that my wife was seeing. And when I went to Hawaii, when I left in 2012 from Okinawa, I went from Fort Lewis, I went to Okinawa, and then I went to Hawaii, but I had started surfing. And I would, I'd be sometimes I'd be really happy, but I felt like I was crying inside, like I just wanted to and just be pissed off. I was always pissed off. But the only thing that helped me not be super pissed off was surfing. So I got to Hawaii, and surfing actually almost took over. Whenever I was home from going down range to bring SEALs and SF guys in to these jobs, I would surf my brains out to where I was like, wake up, go surf, get off work, go surf. I was actually thinking of excuses to give my boss to go surf. It was like this thing I needed.
It kind of goes along with how we were brought up with the addictive personality that you inherited, right? Hey, yeah. Surfing's better than crack, bro. But if you lived in Michigan, you'd be a deer hunter. If you lived in, Glamis, you'd probably buy a bunch of 4x4s. But
that's why Ricky don't do medical marijuana, right? Because I would do it so much to where I wouldn't even wake up. Just like it so much, right? So that's why. But
so we're in Hawaii. We're in Hawaii, and you're surfing before your retirement.
Yeah, and I'm working with some guys. The Air Force, they call themselves managers and stuff like that. I'm not around a bunch of meat eaters that what I think is meat eaters. And they're asking me to do some training. And I was just like, nah, I'm not doing that. Doesn't align with what I believe in. And well, you got to. And I was like, no, I don't. I retire. Right. I got 27 years and I ain't doing it. So I dropped my paperwork. And that was, I had a year and a half to prep. That was the best thing of actually working in that unit was I had some time to prepare myself properly to retire, right? Take care of medical stuff with the VA and stuff. I was actually working also for a company called GoRuck during that time as a 1099 contractor during my leave days. I got pretty good at being a cadre and pretty popular, right when I was retiring, the year I was retiring, they asked me to help them film a movie downrange in Thailand because one of the guys who's original planners, he had quit. So I jumped on board with that, during some leave, and I went down there, scouted out, found the place to film it. Then I hired a bunch of retired Green Berets down there to help me, to run it, and then Jason, the CEO of GoRuck, President GoRuck, is like, hey man, I really like how you work. When you get out, would you come work full time for GoRuck? Right? And I was like, sure. I had planned to drive the country in an RV for 2 years and surf up and down the West Coast and the East Coast, and hopefully even make it into Central and South America. But that changed. So we bought the RV. We drove for a couple months, went and visited you, Cliff, and ended up in Jacksonville. And, but transition, I only lasted at GoRuck full time for 9 months, just because, I still had some things in my head. I didn't really properly retire the way I wanted to. And, so I didn't really take care of some of the things that I needed to take care of, so I quit, and then I put myself into, just transition was hard for me, and it's still a little different for me, but I'm actually getting used to it. I've always been a hard charger, right? When I can't sit down, I can't, relax. So I always fill my plate with too much, just because that's something with me is whenever I have downtime or white space, I fill it with work or helping other people. So transition is, so.
So yeah, go Ruck, Rick. You're angry, and when you say that you didn't fully transition, I know what you mean, right? And I know that this is hard for you to talk about, but we deal with it, and I'll prompt you, man, and I'll say I'm gonna rip the covers off and say that Rick's birthday hasn't been the same for 10 years because his medic, Ben Wise, succumbed from his wounds on Rick's birthday in 2012. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah.
And this just a short time after Ben's brother had been killed in a suicide bomb attack in Afghanistan. So if you haven't heard about the Wise brothers, you should look it up. It's I think three wise men.
3 Wise Men. The book
is the book by the survivor
by their brother Bo Wise.
Right, but Rick holds that personal, and things haven't been the same for the last decade, right? And you still held on to that, and I know you still do hold on to it, but let's talk about how your process went, because this is really what this is about. It's like talking to other veterans about their process. You're not the Rick of January 15th, 2011, but you're in a better place than you were Rick January 15th, 2020. Right?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to somebody about it not too long ago. Is from 2002 was the first time I actually seen like dead enemy. Basilan Philippines. Is taking some guys out on a training mission on Basilan, right? And they got engaged, and then my team we responded. And bottom line is, the dead enemy was taken down to this place where we had to police them up, and they were in a little bonker boat, and they're in pieces, right? But I looked at it and it didn't really affect me because I was like, this is my job. I'm a professional soldier. I'm a Green Beret, right? And like 2 months prior to that, the 160th bird that dropped us off and filled us into Basilan crashed, afterwards, killing the whole crew. It might seem cold and callous to me, but it didn't affect me at the time, right? I wasn't like broken down and sorrow because I was in combat. I was in a zone where people were hunting me down and we were hunting them down. I didn't have time to really grieve and feel bad, right? And then when I saw the enemy, I was like, hey, that's what we want, right? Badass, right? And then throughout the time, in Iraq and, when I was with C-11, we ended up doing raids and stuff like that, and guys that ended up dead. And it just didn't, it was, and sometimes a first group guy would die that was down south or something. And we'd go and police, we'd go to the airport to, like Nate Winder and some other guys, I think Sergeant Major Connor, they had to take those guys and put them on the airplane since we were in Baghdad so they could be flown back to the States. Right. I felt bad. Right. But I was like, that's part of war, right? We're professional soldiers. And it was, and then we went to Afghanistan, and I had 3 engineer kids die. We had responded to an incident where 3 American engineers died. And we were like going in there to get them, QRF, the team that was there and all that. We weren't going to end, we were determined to go and make it to them, but it wasn't like I was sad with sorrow that happened. Right. And then we turn her back around. It's like one day I'm in Afghanistan. The next day I'm like driving with my family in Tacoma. Like my wife's like, what? You're driving people off the road. Right. And then the next day I'm in a school for 6 months and they graduate the next day I'm back in Afghanistan. Right, for a year.
Yeah, Rick. So I think it's important really to mention something here, which is, you and I had been conversing a lot in 2012 while you were deployed. Y'all were like packed up. When this incident happened, you guys were on the plane almost.
Almost. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think Ben wasn't even on an ODA at the time, right? And he was like, dude, he was on an
ODA. He was on an ODA, but support another ODA who didn't have a medic. Right. And Ben called me. He's like, hey, because he knew I was friends with the sergeant major. Right. He's like, hey, Chief, can you do me a favor? I want to be with the team for the last couple months that we're back, you know?
Yeah.
So I had to call sergeant major. I was like, hey, can you bring my medic back? You know, because I was in Mazar-e Sharif training the commandos back at the Kandak battalion, you know. And he's like, hey, I'll bring him back, but he can't go forward with the green platoon. He's got to stay with you and help train the medics. I was like, all right, cool. All right, so Ben comes back and he's like, he does what any team guy would do, try to get out in front. He's like, hey, Chief, I know I'm back, but I got to get on this helicopter to go get my stuff that I left at the team house and I bring it back. Ben never came back until the last mission. Kept like, hey, Team Sergeant, Sean, you know, like, get your ass back here, dude. I told Sergeant Major, but hey, he did what I would have done, right? Wants to be with the boys out forward, get on some last missions. He's been sitting on this one fire base with this other team with his thumb up his ass. He wants to get out there and prove his salt, right? So Ben, the last time I saw Ben was they flew in because we were doing I had built this target pack for the last 6 months with the local American unit that was there and some of the unit guys, right? And it was a big joint mission. We had some Delta guys with us, and we all flew in, and it was 2 objectives. Ben ended up on one of the other objectives, and that's where they started taking fire from some caves and stuff, you know. And you know, Ben, there's some women and children in there, and Ben had assisted them getting out, you know, and Ben eventually tried to enter the cave and got shot, you know, wounded, and they flew him out. And it's funny, during that time when I didn't even, like, I hear it on the radio, we're flying them out medevacing, right? I'm not even part of it because I'm on the other side of the objective. I didn't feel anything, right? I just like mission focus. All right, that happened, boom, process it, boom, get them out, right? Done, boom, get the mission. We get back, Ben's gone. Ben's going to Germany. We do the memorial. I mean, while he's in there, he dies. Doing the memorial, it's like business. Do the memorial, boom, boom, boom. All right. Get back to the States. Like
when did you arrive back? When did you redeploy?
Like February. We were like there. He died the 15th of January, and we were back like late January, early February, back home. Wow. That was our last mission.
Yeah.
Right. He didn't have to be there. Right.
He did. So that's where he needed to be. That's where he wanted to be.
But that's what I've been dealing with, right? For a long time. It's like, he didn't have to be there. Right. It's like me, I pulled strings, right? I didn't was strong enough as a leader or something, you know, and that's what I was killing myself over, you know, but I know that he wanted to be there, and that's where he needed to be, you know, and if it wasn't me, it would be somebody else, right?
Yeah.
That would have let him do the same thing. So
yeah. Let's talk about Massachusetts, man. And the work that they're doing up there. And we talked a little bit on this podcast about the first podcast, actually. We had some deep questions with Dr. Bessel Vanderkolk about trauma, war trauma specifically, but the folks who have war trauma on top of intense childhood trauma.
Yeah. Well, so I've been one of the reasons why I talked about earlier, right? Is like, I can't ever sit still. Right. So I thought when I went to home base, sponsored by the Red Sox, you know, in Mass General Hospital, 2 weeks, Leo was a graduate, right? Of it. I suckered him into it. Right. But it's a great program, man. They fly you up there pre-COVID, they fly your family up there. They look at you and say, hey, this is what we think. You're going to come back for 2 weeks, do brain scans, all this stuff, right? You go to a sports doctor, all this. And they're like, okay, you're on the TBI track or you're on you're fucking crazy track, right? One of those tracks.
There's like nowhere hey, by the way, you're both.
Yeah. So I've actually got a couple of my buddies to go, so other than Leo, and it's helped them, but I thought I was going there, man, for TBI, and some other things I have some things wrong with my body from a lot of injuries that were affecting my brain that, like my neck and all that stuff where it screwed up a lot of my focus, which would make me angry and give me headaches. But I thought I was going there also to take care of some war trauma. Right. But what came out from it was a lot of childhood trauma that amplified my war trauma, like severe child abuse, I just remember being like these memories of things like being tied up, which I thought were just like daydream, but my sister remembers it. And she has these drawings that I actually drew into the same thing of me being chained to a bed for days, or being like this Asian torture, where, my dad used to make me kneel on uncooked rice for hours and then put encyclopedias on my arms. And if I dropped an encyclopedia, I'd get another encyclopedia on me, or he would take me up in my underwear and a broom in my hand and put me outside while the school's getting out. Nowadays, it was just a lot of things. Waking up, in the middle of the night just to getting, just getting beat up like a grown man at the age of like 5 all the way until I left. So one of the things, it's like, if I couldn't read, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't relax as a kid because my dad felt like we had to just serve him constantly, and serve him was either serve him like food and all that or clean. If we weren't doing any of that, you were fucked up, and he would beat the fuck out of you. Right? If he found you relaxing, reading, doing anything, he would beat the shit out of you. That's why for my wife and all that, my wife, knows like whenever I have downtime, I can't just relax. I just fill it up. I wake up at 4 o'clock and I go to bed at 8. And in between 4 and 8, I'm busy, and it just amplified a lot of things. But I can't necessarily say I fixed that little tweak, that little thing, but I understand why I do certain things now. Right. So,
and the program in Massachusetts kind of painted that picture, right? It used both those palettes. There's a palette of paints that's childhood. There's a palette of paints that's combat. And by the way, we had to like gloss over it a little bit. Rick's a fucking bullet magnet. Where he must have took all the bullets that were meant for me, because everywhere he went, I'm like, dude, how are you getting shot at, man? Like, I'm like, not far from you. But those things, when they combine, they're very combustible. So we grew up with the same parents in the same town, slightly different situations where, I got the lesser version of it all. I got some of it, but I didn't get it all. Because Rick took most of the hits, let's be honest. But it's not easy for me to talk about either, man. It's deep. Like I have that feeling that, there's a little bit of guilt sometimes that you had to endure that. But we're not here to talk.
But that's what Big Brother is for.
Man, that's a heavy burden, dude, for fucking birthright.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that bit in Massachusetts is, being there for you during that was pretty heavy just because, I mean, it shines some light on some dark shit that had been buried for a long time.
Yeah.
And we're still not over it. Like we still, there's still some lingering effects where, we got to deal with.
I hold certain people responsible, and and I don't feel the same towards certain people, right? Like I have all up until then.
Yeah.
So like I was a kid, it's like could have done something. Yeah.
Yeah. I think now is a good time to talk a little bit about how the ocean saved both of your lives.
Yeah.
The comradeship. Is that a word? Comradeship? Camaraderie. Yeah. The brotherhood, the sisterhood even, and just the family of the ocean. And, I don't want to, am I getting too preachy or whatever when I say it saved your life?
No, it did. That's one of the sayings that we have actually is Task Force Hydro 1, water saves lives.
Let's hear about it, man. Let's hear about TF1. Yeah. TFH1.
Task Force Hydro 1. So Leo, I'll start, just real quick. It's like, like I said, once I started surfing, I had to surf all the time.
All the time. Like, seriously. I try to go on vacation to visit Rick, and he's waking me up at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, bro, I'm on vacation. Leave me alone. Yeah. He's like, let's go to the water.
I was surfing ripples just to say I was out in the water, right? Because it was just like this feeling of like relief. Here I'm out there and it's this beautiful day in Pearl Harbor or out there off of the North Shore, and I'm having a great time catching these awesome waves. But all of a sudden, I feel this feeling of crying, right? Because I'm like, there's other people that aren't here. They're not feeling what I'm feeling. But I'm so happy I'm out here that, like it's almost like no one could touch me out in the water, and all my problems are on the shore.
Yeah, dude, right? That's why I was so surprised when you were like responding to text messages from your stupid iWatch. And I'm like, you're the water, man. Like, I thought that's a good place to escape. Yeah. And this dude had his like iWatch in the water. I'm like,
that led to some other issues, like now I'm glad this doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
But bottom line is I just started surfing. But what I found out is, especially starting in Okinawa, is the freaking cool people and the Stoke that you meet, right? And not just Americans, but like all the Okinawans and Japanese. I would go from here to here.
Wait, I have to interrupt you, man. What is Stoke? Let's hear it.
Stoke is just like that feeling of.
Is it aloha?
Yeah, it's like aloha, right? It's like feeling like, what's up, brother? Like I don't know you, but let's surf, right? Let's just get it all out, have fun, let everything out, all of our differences. We're surfers. We're in the water enjoying that ride. I may hated what he believes in politically or whatever on the beach, right? But we're out there catching waves. Now I'm screaming for him because I see this dude coming down in a barrel, or he's just getting worked, but on the inside, it looks like he's sucking, but we both know it's fun as hell, right? And it's like, yeah, and it's just like everything up here, you feel normal, but you duck dive and feel this cold water on your face and just like washes away.
Just make you feel small.
Makes you feel small in this big world of problems, right? You're just this little thing. And then you're like, I can't fix it all, so why even worry about it? Just enjoy the moment. And sometimes it would be the moment past work hours. That's what's starting to be a problem. That's why I said I got to retire. Starting to act like a private. But
so let's talk about real quick. So you start surfing in Okinawa. You continue surfing in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And then Rick was driving across the country. And before that, we were talking about, hey, bro, like I'd love you to live near me. But I think we both came to the mutual conclusion. I'm like, dude, you need the ocean, bro.
Yeah.
Like I can't have you be around me and my kids if you are angry Rick. Go find some motion, bro.
Angry Rick is not nice, Angry Rick. But bottom line is like my biggest thing is I started stand-up surfing, too. And then I started doing all kinds of like just being a waterman, in the water. And but just the cool people I met everywhere. I mean, I started like arranging surf trips everywhere I went. I've surfed in the Philippines, I've surfed in Japan, I've surfed in Korea, right?
Costa Rica,
New Zealand, all these places, right? Australia. And then just the people I've met, right? And I still keep in touch with, and then I go to Hawaii, right? And everyone's like, oh, it's so localized there. But dude, I go everywhere, right? And I know everything. And like family came out and visited, and we'd go to a beach and somebody swim up and what's up, Rick? We go to North Shore. What's up, Rick?
I was like, dude, what the hell, dude? Are you the mayor of freaking Okinawa or Honolulu?
And it's just, that's the Stoke. And I loved it. And then all of a sudden I'm starting to like teach people how to paddle surf because, and I'm like, I love seeing that I'm teaching, doing what a Green Beret does, right? I like teaching, right? And that's what makes me feel good is giving myself to others and helping them get better, right? And that's why for me, someone before I even moved to Florida, my buddy Keith Payne, which he's a senior warrant, right? And he retired, and he was like my mentor at Jayadif West, right? And he's super good friend, and he's the one where I went to his church and I got baptized, and I found God there, again, right? Because of Keith Payne and his family. But Keith's like, dude, you should run something like a surfing instruction or something to where you help people, and I ended up moving to Florida. Right. And that's, moves into, I just moved to Florida, and here's a quick story, right? It's like, I moved to Florida. The first day I went surfing in Florida, I've been here like 2 weeks, and I just got this new board, and I go surfing at the pier. And the first day I surfed there, I get some dude. It's like one of the first times this has ever happened to me. Some dude swims up to me and tells me I can't surf there. I'm like, what? He's like, you can't surf here. I was like, who said? He's like, me and all my friends and all these groms, these
I remember this. Like, dude, I thought you were going to murder somebody.
This guy's like 40 years old, right? And these groms are behind him going like, no, not me, right? And that, I almost hurt that guy.
Dude, we had to talk this dude off the ledge. We're like, bro, Rick, please do not kill a surfer.
Right. And
but you were at that point in your life, man, where like it was ultra violent in your mind, at least.
Yeah. I mean, it was like,
dude, you have the worst road rage already. And now you're road raging on the waves.
Yeah. It's like,
you start fantasizing about killing them.
And I moved here, and I was so excited about, I'm going to start my life here. Right. I'm going to surf here and meet a bunch of new people, and my life will just blossom here. And this dude basically shit on it. Right. I almost quit my job. I've never surfed there again since. No, actually I went back there once, not too long ago. Right. We ran into each other again at where I started surfing, and I sort of flipped the switch, and I became the asshole, which didn't sit well with me. So I reached out to him and said, sorry, right? That's not why I surf. And we're actually pretty good friends now. Yeah.
He ended up being like the son of like a real famous like shaver or something, right? Or is that different?
No, his dad's just a really good dude. Famous. He shapes stand-up paddle boards and is well known in the community. I don't want to say his name because
don't worry about it.
Yeah,
hey, but he's who you are, Bob. Dude. You're an asshole. No, you were that one day.
Yeah, he's actually a great dude, and
maybe he was having like a bad day.
Big. Yes. No, you know what? I looked at it. He was being protective.
Yeah. You know what?
Right.
Having some grace in our life is super important, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I got I went ugly early. Right. Like, bottom line, I was like, we got in a fight, and I was like, I will, I said some things that normally don't end up well on the street where people,
I'm gonna throw it out here, man, because I remember these conversations that you would have with me. Rick and I would talk on the phone, and I would be like, dude, relax. My older brother, by the way, and I retired within like 5 months of each other, maybe 6 months. I don't know. And I retired first. Like I'm the old guy, but I am kind of the older guy. My body hurts more than yours. But yeah, I mean, I was talking him out of like really hurting this person. And not that he would have. Rick's a sweetheart, but you fantasized about it.
I did.
And that, I think, taught you something about yourself that you knew needed to be fixed.
Yeah.
Right.
Anger. That's why it messed me up for a very long time.
Yeah. Leo, let's talk about your surfing, dude.
So me surfing. Or
being on the water, anything like.
Well, so how I got to it, I used to call it a stroke. So how I got to it is because I participated in a program, a surfing program for veterans, and my therapist at the VA, not at the VA, the vet center, he used to tell me about surfing, talk to me about surfing, right? And I'd never been. I wouldn't say comfortable, but water sports never been my thing. My thing used to be soccer and also running, trail running. You know,
are you out of ammo?
Say again?
Why would you be running? Are you out of ammo?
No. No, it's just it was a place for me to clear my mind.
Yeah, I got it.
You know, and sometimes I will picture myself running. And then just picture my problems behind me, and I'm just running and running, and just thinking on that, it will give me that extra push. I don't know if you ever run, like a pretty good distance, but I used to get this rush at mile 8. When I will be on mile 8, that's when I get this. Something will happen in my body that will be like reset my whole my head and everything, and then I will continue run and I mean so running used to be my thing, but surfing came around because of my therapist. He used to talk to me about surfing and and how it will benefit me, and I contemplated the idea, but then someday I went into this website and I checked it out and I applied for a surf program. So I tried it out. I flew over to California to Huntington Beach, and that was my first experience surfing. Was being held underwater for a long time.
Yikes!
So, but you know what? When that happened, I still remember that the instructor. Because listen, I was very naive about the ocean.
Yeah.
It's not that, it's like, yeah, sure, waves here and there, but I didn't know how powerful the ocean is until I was being, tumbled around underwater. And the instructor, he asked me, hey, where you want to go? You just want to play at the white water or you want to go in far out? And I said, well, let's go far out and see what happens, right? So, I'm paddling in far out, the pier, the Huntington Beach pier. We were on the north side of it. Well, apparently that was a big day. I didn't know that what big was. So the guy pushed me into the wave and I just went down and the wave caught me. And it just, when I was underwater, like, I don't know if you heard that sometimes people, when they're about to die, that all their memories and everything that I've done. Yeah. Like, no bullshit. That's what went through my mind. My childhood, my wife, kids, everything. It was because I was drinking. I was just drowning. So then all of a sudden I just relaxed and then automatically just popped out of the water. And on the next wave, I was able to get up and go. And when that happened, I felt like there was something that came that punched me through the center of my core, and it made me feel wonderful like this. And this is something that I never felt before. It was a moment of joy and being alive.
It really feels like there's a weight lifted off your entire body because you're weightless. It feels like, right?
It was a very, and I describe it as, my son, when he was, that's my son, when he was 7 years old, sometimes he will just wake up smiling, no reason. Just because. And when that happened, when I got that first wave, that's what I felt. I picture if there's something that he's feeling at that moment when he's sleeping and he's waking up and that smile is just happening. That's exactly what I felt when I caught that first wave. Now, looking back in time, that wasn't even a wave. That was just white water.
You know what, man? You were on the most powerful force in the world, which is nature. That's, I think, what's really interesting about it. Like, I can't surf, man. Like, I've caught a few waves, but I'm not that good. I don't live near the ocean, man. But my son Jude, by the way, shout out to Jude. He's pretty good. I think he has a good balance. But yeah, isn't it interesting how the ocean? You may think you are top shit, dude. You are like, Rick, I'm a fucking Green Beret. You're like, I'm angry at the world. Fuck the world. And the world's like, hey, I can hold you under here until you die. Or I can let you harness me for a little bit and let you float effortlessly on top of me. Right. And it's like, it's almost a poem and it's a song. It's like poetry in motion when you're on a wave, right? You're like, oh shit, here I am. It beats skydiving, to be honest with you. To me, at least.
I mean, whenever I'm about to get in the water, I kind of just ask permission to it, and it's in my head I'm just thinking like, okay, please just be nice to me today. Just let me get in your world, like let me, and
he does. He actually does talk to the water.
Did it take?
I mean, Ricky has heard me talk to the water.
Well, let's fast forward just a little bit, right? So we've established both of you found powerful experiences, humaning experiences that made you feel small. And by the way, when you feel small, don't your problems feel a little bit smaller, right?
A lot smaller.
And so that's why, like, if you go out to the waves and you have a iWatch, go back, Apple right? Watch, would you? Yeah. Or Apple Watch. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, guy. But would you, like, off topic a little bit, but wouldn't you just recommend, like, leave the watch?
I don't. So I didn't get a line on my watch because of that reason. Because I knew that I don't even bring my phone
to it.
I leave it in the vehicle.
Yeah.
And the times that I go to the beach, if I know that I'm taking my kids, I know that it's their time.
Yeah.
So, and I don't surf. I don't bring my board, nothing. It's like, it's about them. But then the times that I go on my own, it's like, okay, this is me time. And I completely disconnect from everything else. And sometimes, like, Ricky will talk to me about some stuff and say, yeah, okay. In my mind, I'm thinking, shut up.
Yeah, actually, you've said it.
You know what? we're gonna get into really quick here, TF Hydro 1, but I just want to, like, knowing that we're about to talk about Task Force Hydro 1, do you feel like that's intruded on your Stoke? Because now the waves are part of your, not business, but you have responsibilities that are tied in with the ocean now.
No.
Is that a bummer?
No.
How about you, Leo? Not a bummer, a burden.
In a way, I mean, look, when I get in the water, it's to me is I go in the water knowing that I'm nothing.
Okay.
I'm completely. So when I go in, it's like me surrendering to the ocean. So that's how I see it, and that's how that's what works for me. It's I go to the ocean by just surrendering and saying, you know what, it is what it is. Let me ride some waves. Sometimes I'm doing okay. Sometimes I get nothing, and I get angry. And I get more angry when Rick is next to me, constantly screaming and yelling and saying, go, go. And I'm saying, shut up.
Dude, Rick has no chill when he's trying to when he's with people in the waves, he has no chill. I'm like, dude, leave me alone. That's why that's why my kids like surfing with Uncle Chad. No, but okay. So how'd you guys hook up and give me the nexus of Task Force Hydro 1 in the mission statement for fuck's sake. Let's talk about it.
All right. Okay, well, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you my side of the story of how Rick and I met.
Here we go.
Okay.
So COVID happened.
Wait, hold on. Was this on Backpage?
No. I think that's they already closed that website or not.
All right.
But anyway, so the I'm still new to surfing, but I seen Ricky in Mayport at the poles. Every now and then I see him. I definitely knew the truck, that big white truck with the stickers on, the Go Rock, and I see him in the water every now and then. But so anyway, so I saw him this day, and I was with two other guys there, and I finally just I don't know if he said hi to me or I say hi to him.
I said hi to you.
But anyway, so we were talking, right? And prior to that, I was thinking about having a group of people that surf, that wants to learn, that just want to hang out in the water, because to me, that's what it was working for me and cope with my day to day.
A community. You wanted a community.
Right. I wanted a community. I wanted a place where even when you're just quiet, you're saying a lot.
Yeah.
So I remember that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know, I think that day you were struggling. There was something going on with you, that you were not in a good headspace. And for me, it was like, I just spotted it, so we started talking, and then all of a sudden I just shared my idea when we were leaving about a group, having a group and doing this and doing that. And
wait, you guys had just met and you're like, yo, we should be in a long-term relationship.
Pretty much. No, that day, I mean, honestly, no bullshit. Like he is striking me.
I was ripped back then.
he just, just from those few minutes that I met him, he struck me as someone that will tag along or help me do what I've been wanting to do. So whenever I was talking to him about it, I still remember when I would not finish my sentence and he will say, yes, yes, yes. And I'm thinking, like, this motherfucker is saying yes to everything. Like, can you push back? That's what I was thinking. So then that was the first conversation. And then every now and then I would text him and say, hey, how you doing? This and that. And I just kept bugging him about it. But he was, I mean, you weren't ready for it during that time.
I had just quit Go Ruck.
Okay.
Right? And I was getting ready to go up to Massachusetts, and COVID had just started, right? and I was getting ready to actually quit GoRuck. I was going to go into real estate, right? But all my plans changed, and COVID, all the beaches got locked down. Remember, right? And we had the only beach that was open, and I saw you out there, and I just had a feeling just like to talk to you, just like go say hi to this guy. So I was in a bad mood that day, but whenever I talk to other people and just say, it sort of calms me down. We started talking, and I was like, so, it's like, since I lived on Mayport, and I only surfed on Mayport north of the poles on the Navy side because of that incident I had met a bunch of people on that side. A guy named Chris Whitehead, and my buddy Roy and all those guys, and we were all surfing, and we survived COVID together. I mean, we all survived through COVID because we surfed so freaking much, right? We had no jobs. No, everyone was working remote. We had the only beach in North Florida that was open. All the other beaches were closed. There's people calling me like, hey, man, remember me? I'm like, no, I do not remember you.
By the way, for this podcast, Rick was laid off because of COVID from GoRuck. Go ahead.
Actually quit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
IRS.
Yeah.
No, I'm teasing. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, but so I had already, like, people were telling me, because I had connected with all these guys and we were on this like iChat, right? And just, it was like, let's meet at the beach, right? Surfing. And then saw Leo, we started talking like, well, we should do this, And then I started going to I started going to Massachusetts, and then my head was all messed up, and I was like, oh my God, man, it's, like, this guy keeps on bugging me. I want to do it, but I feel like I'm letting him down, right? I can't 100% do it, and it was, but something told me that beginning of 2021, reach out to Leo. Now is the time, right? To do it. And we did it. I reached out to you, and Leo, having experience with a lot of nonprofits and stuff, right? And like a lot of these service organizations, I'm like, Rick, because me, once I know I want to do something, I'm like impulsive. Let's just do it. Don't slow down. And Leo's like, Rick, let's just try to do this. Let's see if we can fall underneath some other organization. Let's not another LS, let's not do this. I'm like, okay. And then the next day I call, like, we're an LLC. Remember? Right? Well, a little bit in between, we courted some people, right? And we're like, hey, and they're like, oh, we want you to do this, but your money's coming here. And we just didn't like that. Plus, to me, everything was on the West Coast, and if our donors here or donating money here, they don't want to see their money going somewhere else, right? They want to see it localized. So I was like, the only way, and me, if no one could do something as good as I want to do it. That's just my, no one. Even though they do something good, I can do it better.
Hey, I can attest to this, man. Like, I've never been good enough for Rick.
Yeah. And so Leo said, let's take it easy, right? Let's just run an organization, right? We could look into being a nonprofit. Next day we were a nonprofit. Right. And then I found out that, oh shit, just because you're a nonprofit doesn't mean you're a 501c3. I'm like, damn it. Right. And then, Leo had met this guy named Josh. Freaking great guy. In a different thing. But then I meet Josh. I went on a surf strike mission down to Cocoa Beach area. And I meet Josh. I see Josh. And I already know Josh, but he starts saying, hey, I want to start this thing. I hear you want to start an organization and stuff. I want to use my business to help you guys, a t-shirt business. Maybe I can make your t-shirts. You guys can get the funds from it. So it just started. And now Josh is a co-founder and our business advisor, let's
talk about the mission,
started,
man.
Really.
Let's talk about what did you have in mind with an organization?
Verbatim.
Okay, but let's talk about it real quick before we get to the mission, because you have to find a mission, right? But Leo, what was it about the community? And did you immediately think, oh, veterans or people, first responders, people who are recovering from things? Because
Right.
it's
So
pretty broad.
So the concept behind it was because when I participated in this surf program, I wanted to have that same community here in Florida, in this area. So, and something else also it was that it was helping me. It was really, I can see the change in me. I can see the my wife, my kids can see the change. How I was just getting better. And I figured, well, if this is helping me, it's helping other. I'm sure it's going to help other people. And it was just that. I figured, well, if it's helping me, it's going to help someone else.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that I knew that was surfing, and it so happens that we all had something in common, and we have something in common that is, we'll have some sort of a struggle, whether it's related to combat, to childhood, to a car accident, or rape, or whatever the case. We all struggle somehow, some way. So, but I didn't know that about surfing. I didn't know that a lot of people that I have come across, not all, but most of the people that I have come across in water sports, we all have a common denominator, that we all have some sort of struggle, and we utilize surfing in this case to cope with it, to cope with your own struggles, whatever those struggles are. Because I use them for me. And many of us use it for the same reason. And the community came to, because, like I said before earlier, when you're surrounded like-minded people, or just people that understand, you don't feel alone. At least me, I don't feel alone.
Yeah, positive people.
Right.
You look forward to that next time you're with those positive people. And then when you're at your lowest level, you don't want to bring down the Stoke, right? Like
yeah.
You talked about earlier about your own suicide attempt, right? And I know
we all have a common goal.
Yeah.
We just don't get in the water just because. There's a reason why we do it. There's a reason why I do it. I get in the water because I know that it's gonna help me. It's gonna help me feel better in a way. So
that's great, man. Rick, you wanted to read the mission statement of Task Force Hydro 1?
Yeah. So it's like, our mission is to come together as a community of watermen for active duty military, veteran, and first responders to actively help them cope with PTSD symptoms, depression, anxiety, and suicide by creating a meaningful connection and sharing the healing powers of the ocean, rivers, and lakes via outdoor physical and recreational activities.
When did you all have your first TF Hydro 1 meeting? What was that like?
It was
in April.
Yeah.
The first event was, I guess I still remember. I'm not even going to look at my phone. It was April 17, 2021.
Yeah, 8 of us. 8 or 9 of us.
Yeah. I seen the picture every now and then. I glance at it. Actually, I have it saved as a screen.
Yeah.
And I see the picture. It's like, wow, like, there was only 8 of us, 7 of us with the flag. No tent.
Now how many?
There's sometimes 60 people, or rotate through on one Saturday, like our Stoke Saturdays every third Saturday of the month, we'll have like 60 people show up. Sometimes like 100 total.
Where at?
Huh? Hannah Park, Dolphin Plaza at Hannah Park in Jacksonville.
All right. We'll at the end, we'll have you talk about that again. But hey, how was the surf on April 17th?
There was no surf. It was windy.
Yeah, it was. It was windy.
I remember that day.
And cold.
It was cold, windy.
And then our next event was May, right?
We surfed, but I was about to go to home base.
Yeah.
So I was in a bad spot that day.
Yeah.
So the ocean, that's an important point, man. The ocean, surfing, the community, it doesn't actually take away any of your problems.
No.
It rewires your brain. It rewires your physiology where you just can deal with it in a different way, right? Mm-hmm. That's one thing that our first guest on this podcast, Bessel Vanderkolk, talked about is you can't ever make it go away. You just have to rewire it, you know?
And that's like what they told me with the thing with Ben, right? Is it'll never go away. That feeling of sorrow and, you know, like you miss them and, you know, it's just grief. It'll never go away. It's just the way you deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're on 2 hours now almost, man. And this is a great conversation. Right. So no, it's great. I hope I'm not keeping you guys from something cool, but, let's talk about a little bit. Number one, where can you find Task Force Hydro 1 on the interwebs and stuff? Give the shout out to all the socials. We'll put it on the show notes. Number two, where can you surf with Task Force Hydro 1? Number three, what are Task Force Hydro 1's goals this year? And number four, if you want to support Task Force Hydro 1, how do we do that?
So you can find us on the internet at our website at Task Force Hydro, the number 1.org, right? And from there, you can see that we have lines of effort, which are surfing, surfboard shaping, and our paddle platoon. And then we also have a community chat. Once you're in, you come to one of our events and someone vets you, right? We'll bring you into our community chat, which within our community chat it started off with one chat, right? But then it got so popular to where our vets are in there with people that they surf together. And it's like, we had to make like surf report and just talk surfing stuff. Community chat where you can just go in there and talk all kinds of shit, right? And then you have the paddle platoon, right? And you can talk paddle boarding and like canoeing, outrigger stuff. And now we just have another one. It's the Battle Buddy Fitness Challenge chat, right? We're our fitness challenge where guys are putting in their workouts and all that. So, but you can find us every third Saturday at Dolphin Plaza, Hanna Park in Jacksonville at 8 a.m. Rain or shine, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. We'll be there. You know, and it's consistent, right? Cold, snowing, whatever. There will be one of us at least there with our flag flying high and our Task Force Hydro 1 tent. And when we're there, we have, I can't tell you how many boards and stuff. We have boards for people to ride. We have wetsuits for people to use. We have volunteers to teach people how to surf. You know, we have just people who just, and you don't have, there is no kumbaya, you know, like, let's come here. You know how when the Army, the mandatory fun weekend, right? Like, hey, let's have this awesome weekend over here, but we got to go to this briefing and this counseling session for an hour. There's none of that, right? Show up and surf. And when you're done, you can freaking leave. You ain't even say hi to me. You don't have to talk to me, which we do have people like that, man. They just show up, surf, and leave. Right?
Yeah, they show up, they don't say anything, or sometimes they don't even get in the water. They just sit there. And I just look at them like, okay, you know, cool.
They just want to be around us.
Yeah.
Like veterans and law enforcement, because we got first responders, you know, because they suffer some type of trauma, you know, and it's just amazing. And then now we got family members that come. And so we got one guy who's a former sheriff. He sets up kid stuff in the back and the kids are playing. right? It's just, we got an active duty. Now she's active duty, a female surfer who's also a chaplain, right? We named her our unofficial official chaplain, right? And she's leaving now, going somewhere else. But she just wrote and texted that the new person who's replacing her here in her reserve unit, he's going to come out. So we're like, all right, you're going to pass on your duties, you know?
And the reason why we also, wanted to open this to our first responders is because there are so many programs out there for veterans and active duty. This is, and I'm telling you that I've seen it where this is the time where you want to be a veteran right now in the past few years, because there's so much out there for you. There are so many resources for you to utilize. Now, like I know hundreds of them. Have I used them all? No. Maybe I probably used 2 or 3 of them, right? But like I said, this is the time to be a veteran. If you're a veteran and you're struggling, it's not because of lack of resources, because the resources are there. Yeah. It's just because you want to do it.
We think first responders need that opportunity.
Absolutely, 100%. And there's some people who are both. How do we help? How does somebody give of their money, time?
On the website, as you go into the website, all the way at the bottom, you can see the PayPal link to it. And also on the website, we go off donations through either could be, well, in this case, PayPal, or it could also be by just going to one of our sponsors is a t-shirt brand, a clothing brand, Liquid Therapy, which what they do is they provide the shirt to us, and they sell the shirts, and whatever they make out of it is 100% comes to us.
Awesome. Yeah. And I skipped one, by the way. What are your goals for this year that those donations and contributions will support? So I guess you mentioned right now, really the lines of effort, right? But go ahead.
So the lines of effort, right? So at least once every 3 months, we want to provide a shaping lesson, a hands-on surfboard shaping lesson where we've already had one, right? A professional surfboard shaper in Brunswick, Georgia, Jeff from SML Surf. Shout out, great guy, right? Jeff Gable owns SML Surf in Brunswick. He came down during our Christmas party in our shaping bay that we built for Task Force Hydro 1, and got with a veteran that we picked, and they shaped the board together, right? Showed them how to shape it. They shaped it, and then they took it up to Brunswick, and then they glassed it, right? We want to provide that at least once every 3 months this initial year, right? For one veteran, right, that we pick. Our next is shout out to Ken White from Ken White Surfboards in St. Augustine. He's volunteered. He just recently won the shape off at the Surf Expo in Orlando for the second time. He's volunteered to do the next one. And we have other people down there in Cocoa Beach reaching out to help out. So we want to provide the materials, the instruction, and the surfboard all for free for that vet. And hopefully they take that therapeutic skill and utilize our shaping bay anytime they want to build another surfboard or pass it on.
Beautiful. Any thoughts of expanding to other cities?
No, not right now.
We'll talk about that.
Now, Ricky, this is the thing. Don't come back tomorrow and text me, oh, by the way, we got a chapter in San Diego or somewhere.
That's what's happening.
Okay, so let me preface that. Okay, I've already been hit up by people in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Right. But before we do anything like that, we'll expand into St. Augustine. Right. Because St. Augustine and Jacksonville are so big. You
guys are going to be like in and out, right, man? California first, then Arizona, then Texas, Nevada.
We just want to keep it simple.
I get it, man.
So our goal. So what you said to us, Clip, is some of our goals for this year is. So just so I don't know, we just won. We placed second in our first outrigger canoe race in Miami. We practiced for a month. We beat a all carbon fiber canoe, right? Yeah, and we were using a 400-pound canoe. That thing's like 200 pounds, right? And we kicked it.
Not to mention, you're 220 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But I recently, we have a goal of purchasing a 6-man outrigger that we have right now. Right. We've already had a donor reach out and pay for the storage for one whole year. Just paddling in an outrigger is just like surfing, and we just want to provide that. So our goal is to raise enough money to buy that boat, to pay for that boat. It's at our use now. I actually paid for it out of my own bank account, but we want to give it to we want to use it for the club. And
awesome,
and then just provide just good experiences, surfing lessons. We just paid for swimming lessons for one of our veterans who she loves surfing. I mean, she loves water sports, but she's not a strong swimmer. So we paid for swim lessons at the local Jewish Community Alliance.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
Yeah. So our whole concept is just basically to pay it forward, right?
Yeah.
So someone did it to me. Someone brought me, introduced me to surfing. So
pass on the Stoke, bro.
Just sharing the Stoke. That's what it is.
Yeah,
I
love it. And the aloha.
Yeah, and like Leo said, it's like just on that community chat. We're not just meeting every third Saturday of the month, right? We got guys linking up every day now, right? And then I've had people on this chat text me on the side and say, I just want to let you know that this chat saved my life. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, during this whole Afghanistan debacle, I've had guys that are part of our organization that are like the only survivor of ambushes or IEDs in Iraq, right? That have texted me like, this text has saved my life during this chat, right? It saved my life during this whole Afghanistan debacle, right?
Yeah.
This is my new family, right? I mean, it's amazing to see the relationships that are spawning from this group.
That's awesome, man. And thank you guys for doing that. The community right now is small, but these things spread like wildfire. Hopefully they'll spread other places and people will get out of their dark places. Hey, real quick, before we close out, we here at VeteranLife and Return to Base podcast can't let you go without telling me the most embarrassing story that you had from your military time. Let's go, Leo. Let's hear it. Come on, man. The look on his face just now. He knows exactly what he should say, but I don't know if he's going to say it.
No, I can't. I'm married. Let's just live what I got.
Ricky? Rick once got shot in the neck in North Carolina.
I did.
While warming his hands.
Yeah.
He almost died.
Fire. Can't recall. That was the most embarrassing thing.
Let's hear it.
With Green Berets, most embarrassing things normally deal with shit, and I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, man.
Not being able to find a bathroom.
Yeah. Well, if I had $5 for every time you pooped yourself, dude, I'd be rich. I would. I'd be like $250, Richard. 260.
Let's come back with one sock.
Anyways, I have an embarrassing story for Rick, but it's more embarrassing for me. Rick visited me up in Fort Campbell one time to just to visit, and he went. He's like, "Hey man, let's do PT with your team, right? And I was like, all right. So I took him to go PT with my team, and we're sitting there, and I'm like, this is my brother. And, you know, he's doing the big brother thing, like being kind of an asshole. And then he goes, dude, I got to take a shit. Before we went on our run. I'm like, what? And I'm like, I don't know, go in the woods. And so he's like, everybody's like, where'd your brother go? I'm like, he's in the woods. And he comes back and he literally had one sock. I'm like, oh, that's my fam, man. But hey, I want to thank you guys, the boys from Task Force Hydro Run, the co-founders and veterans, family, Ohana. Thank you guys for being with me and spreading the Stoke. Is that how it goes? Sharing the Stoke, spreading the aloha or whatnot. And yeah, thank you guys for being with Return to Base. This has been the longest episode, so hopefully people were digging it, and we'll keep on keeping on. So thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this particular podcast. This was a bit longer than normal. Obviously, with two guests with such compelling stories, you know, it takes a little bit longer. I want to thank Rick, my brother, and Leo for joining me on this podcast and for what they're doing in Jacksonville Beach with Task Force Hydro One. It really does take a community, take a village, take a Ohana, and them out there sharing the Stoke, spreading the Stoke, like they like to say, is just, you know, I can't say enough about it. It's something that needs to be done. They started it because it felt good for them, but it's grown into a much bigger family. And if you're out there in Jacksonville Beach, go check them out. You can find them at taskforcehydro1.org. That's taskforcehydro1.org. Also, thank you again for listening. If you're a person who listens often, very much thank you for your support. We couldn't do this without you. We wouldn't want to do it without you. But if you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. You know, we're on all of the platforms. Anywhere you can basically get a podcast, you can find us. And go visit us at VeteranLife.com. We have lots of good content out there. So until next time, take it easy.